Hello you guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm very excited for today's video because this is one of my favorite series to film, and today I am doing an updated Maggedon update. This video series was inspired by Kat and Haley. I will have both of them linked down below. Kat does Maggedon. She is the one who came up with the name, and then Haley calls hers testing all of the eyeshadow palettes in my collection. But essentially I'm going through all of my eyeshadow palettes. I started at the letter Z. I've been going reverse alphabetical, and I have a whole series. I have like 6 or 7 episodes at this point in time where I go through my palettes. Originally I was doing like each palette no pan left behind, and then I came back and shared looks with you. I'm getting to the point where I am almost ready to film my eyeshadow palette declutter, and so I kind of just want to look through everything that I currently have at the letter categories that we're at. I haven't necessarily no pan left behind did, meaning used every single shade of eyeshadow within all these palettes at least one time, but I feel like also if I haven't felt encouraged to reach for a palette or to no pan left behind it, like perhaps that's a signal that the palette can go. Now I will say the amount of times that I've done my makeup this year has been a little bit less than normal, but I don't see that happening in the future necessarily. I still kind of want to be more ruthless this year in my eyeshadow palette declutter. I feel like I can tell my preferences have definitely changed quite a bit. And I don't want to, one, keep things for the sake of just keeping things for like one shade or because it's indie and it's special. I don't want to keep things because I'm a collector. Like if something is no longer serving a purpose, or I'm not excited to reach for it, or I don't feel inspired by it, it just doesn't serve a place in my collection. So I'm going to keep that in mind. Today we are going through the letters K, L, and M. So any brand of eyeshadow I have starting with K, L, and M, we are discussing in today's video, and I will share with you palettes that you will likely see declutter during my upcoming declutter, palettes that I know I'm keeping, or palettes that I'm on the fence about. That is what we are talking about today, so if you're interested, stay tuned. First, if you haven't yet to subscribe to my channel and you like project planning content, palette themed content, or just hanging out and chit-chatting about makeup, that's what we do over on this channel, so I hope you'll consider subscribing before moving on. And other than that, let's jump into the video. I also have the letter I realized, because I have itsjustSteph in here as well, so throwing that in there. Maybe we'll start with the letter L, because I have a lot more K eyeshadow palettes. For L, I have one palette from LH Cosmetics, and I have one palette from Lawless, and I believe that's it for the letter L. Seems a little crazy, but I think that is truly it. So I have my LH Cosmetics little Shimmer Saga quad. This is just an all shimmer quad for beautiful kind of ethereal, more iridescent shadows. I do like having this little quad. I like having this for those moments that maybe my eyeshadow look just feels a little bit dull and I want to tap one of these on my eyes to just add a little bit of color, add a little bit of sparkle, add a little bit of interest. Or I also like using these as inner corner highlights. So this is one that I am definitely going to be keeping. And then I will also be keeping my Lawless, the Dreamy Dozen Duo. They actually sent this to me last year and I almost didn't even try this, but I decided to, and I actually really enjoy this palette. This palette is one that I have no pan left behind it this year, and the looks that I created with this palette I really liked. It's boring, it's basic, it's simple, but that is what has been making me feel more pretty and more confident, and just like what I've been itching to reach for this year, and this palette delivers on all of the things that I'm looking for in that regard. So I will be keeping this eyeshadow palette. We can move on to I next, because I only have 2 palettes. Both are from Menagerie Cosmetics, which I don't believe is a brand anymore. The first palette I have is the Flare eyeshadow palette, which I purchased first, and I really enjoyed this eyeshadow palette. It's a 9-pan all shimmer palette. It is definitely a companion palette, but it is beautiful, and I love all of the shades in this palette. I liked this so much that I wanted to go on and try more from itsjustSteph, which we'll get into that palette next, but I am definitely going to be hanging on to this palette. I really love the shade Morganite. It's this really beautiful warm pink shifty shadow, one of my like favorite pink shifty warm shadows in my collection, and one of the shadows I really contribute to like making me kind of fall in love with like the pink shifty shadows. I also love Citrine Rosewater and Lapis Lazuli. I love a cobalt blue, so I love this metallic cobalt blue. This one is definitely gonna stay. I then went on to buy the itsjustSteph Under the Full Moon eyeshadow palette, and I bought this because it reminded me of the Nabla, I think it was the Analog palette that I decluttered, the blue one. And I was really missing one of the blue shades out of that palette, or kind of regretting that declutter. And I thought this shade looked really similar to that. So I bought this. I will say I was not super impressed with this palette. I think the shade Full Moon is really pretty. And then there is also a shade up here that is called August 1st, which is my daughter's birthday. So I really thought about keeping this palette for that purpose, but I literally never reached for this palette. So I think ultimately I am going to end up decluttering this palette. Again, I don't need to keep palettes because it has cute packaging, or because a shade name is a shade name that I like, or there's one singular shade in the palette that I really like. I'll swatch Full Moon. It is this really beautiful kind of like silver blue sort of shadow, but I am certain I have something similar to this. Like, oh, it is really pretty. It is really, really pretty. And it's very, very wet looking, but I am certain if I were to kind of look through my entire shadow collection, I would have something quite similar to this. And I literally never even think about this, so I don't think I'll miss this in my collection if I do ultimately declutter it, which, hint, hint, I do think you'll see me declutter this in my upcoming eyeshadow palette declutter. Okay, moving on to the letter K. I have a bunch of Kaja stacks. So I have 7 of them, and I think, I'm just looking through them really quickly, I think I will likely keep the majority of what I have left for the Kaja stacks. I do really like these. I feel like they're really convenient for travel, or even as like a companion like palette or trio. I really like my trios that are all mattes to kind of pair with something like the Flare palette, which is an all shimmer palette. Okay, yes, I have Coral Sunrise, Peach Madeline, Chocolate Dahlia. I have Neutral Moment, which I think is an all matte palette. Yep, Neutral Moment, which I'm gonna keep. Velvet Dream, is that all matte as well? Yes, Velvet Dream is all matte. I'm gonna keep Velvet Dream. I have Cold Brew, which I am gonna keep Cold Brew. And the last one I don't know if I need to keep is Taro Bubble Tea. It's this really beautiful purple trio, but I literally just never ever reach for purple, and I think I'm much more likely to reach for, it's 2 shimmers. One is like more of that like really squishy emollient, very high shine, intense, kind of holographic metallic, really punchy on the eyes, and then there's one that is a little bit more sparkly, and then we have a dark matte kind of plum purple here. I just think if I am gonna reach for a purple, I'm much more likely to reach into other palettes. So I do think I can let the Taro Bubble Tea go, but I will be keeping the other 6 that I mentioned. And then I do have a couple of palettes here from Kidos. So I have 2 of the quads from Kidos. I have the Flower Punk palette, and then I have the Escape Pod. I know for sure I am not decluttering the Flower Punk palette. I absolutely love this eyeshadow palette. I purchased this and I dropped mine so many times and basically destroyed mine. And then one of you lovely subscribers ended up sending me yours, which I am so thankful for. I didn't get around to reaching for this. I love reaching for this in the summer, and I didn't get around to it this summer. That's not to say I can't still reach for this before the end of the year, but I always enjoy the looks that I create using the Flower Punk palette. I love the packaging. I love the color story. This I am definitely not getting rid of. The Kidos Escape Pod, I feel like might be time to let go. I just don't know that I need this anymore, but this holds such a special place in my heart. I believe I bought this during COVID lockdown. I believe I was playing around with color for the first time and just having so much fun with it with this palette during COVID lockdown. So there's like those memories tied to it. But I also said at the introduction, I don't want to just keep palettes for like a memory, but I'm not like excited to reach for it. And there's just, I just don't feel like I need this. I think if I were to open my Blend Bunny Surge palette, like definitely not necessarily shade for shade dupes of the matte colorful shadows, but rare is the day I'm even reaching into this for the colorful shadows. Oh, it's so hard though. I feel like this is one, I'm gonna set this aside and I'm gonna swatch this against other things in my collection and see if I can find some dupes for some of these shades. This is also what I like to use this series for is swatching something that I'm thinking about keeping against other similar things in my collection to see if I have other things that could work, so maybe I don't need to keep both. So I'm gonna set this aside as a maybe for right now. And then the other two I have from Kidos are these two quads. So I have the Cold Brew quad, which is this one right here. This is like a convenient quad, but I just don't know if I need this. I just really don't know if I need this. I have so many other small, beautiful palettes that give me the same thing. I just bought the ABH Haze palette, which is 9 pans, but it's about this size too. Gives me like the cool tone browns. I feel like I just don't need to keep this. I feel like I don't need to keep this. I feel like I can let this one go. And I also am going to let Venus Trap go. This one is more gray toned than I typically prefer, and I'm just definitely not inspired or excited to reach for this one. So I'm gonna let this one also go from Kidos. That brings us not quite to the letter M, because I have one more palette that starts with the letter K. This is from Menagerie Cosmetics. It's the So Amazing palette, and I am gonna keep this one. Or do I just want to pull out the like few shadows I like from this one? I don't even know if I've showed you guys this. I love the shade Oh Ship, as well as the shade Don't Be Shellfish. Don't Be Shellfish. I actually have a pan in this shade. The rest of the palette I don't care as deeply about. I Washed Up Like This is a really beautiful shade too, which I could also, like, I could depot that shade. This is a palette I'd be willing to, like, because it's so big, I would be willing to depot the few shades that I like out of the palette. Okay, there is, what did I say that was? I Washed Up Like This. That one is like a bit more like flaky though, and I definitely have similar things to my collection. I think just because I'm not like uber impressed by all of the mattes in this palette, I definitely have like a pale yellow in another palette. I just am not feeling as inspired by the pastels in this. I think I will ultimately end up decluttering this, and I actually did No Pan Left Behind this earlier this year. I kind of forced myself to, because I have been trying to do that for several years and just didn't get around to it. This is not something that I think of to reach into to create a full look. I love this shade, like I said, for an inner corner highlight, and I think Oh Ship is beautiful all over the lids. But I think what I can do is take these two shades out, and then I'm perfectly fine depotting or decluttering the rest of this palette. I think that is what we are gonna do with the Clarity So Amazing. All right, moving on to the letter M. I'm gonna go into my melts palettes first, and then we'll end with like Menagerie, Makeup by Mario. Oh, and I missed Lethal Cosmetics with my L's, and I'm missing a Lethal palette. I knew I was missing something when I started with the L's. Okay, I am gonna keep both of my Lethal Cosmetics palettes. I have talked a lot about how this palette, which I believe is called the Midnight Serenade, it's not on the palette, so I can't exactly remember, but I think that's what it is. It's not my favorite. I don't think this has the best longevity, but I do love the color story. I can create pretty looks out of it. It's something I would be happy filming in, and the looks last like a good 4 to 6 hours. It's just not something I would create like a work look with. I still really do enjoy some of the shades in this palette though. I do like having this palette around, so I am going to keep this one from Lethal, as well as the Wildflower palette. I love this palette. I think it's beautiful. I don't necessarily reach for the mattes on an everyday basis or even a monthly basis. What I meant to say is the mattes are not my most worn, but I think even some of these like special metallic shades are really beautiful paired with like one of the like Kaja stacks, like a neutral matte brown base, and then like this shade or even this shade all over the lids. So pretty. I do really enjoy that, and that's something I feel confident and comfortable wearing to work. As I had this open, I was thinking about this palette, and I'm like, okay, definitely have the hot pink, and I even have like the purpley periwinkle, and I don't care about the orange. I think this is a sign that I can finally let go of the Kidos Escape Pod. It's like bulkier packaging, and again, I'm just not as excited to reach for this one. It's getting older in my collection. I honestly just feel like it's okay to let this one go. So Escape Pod's gonna get decluttered. All right, moving on to the letter M. I'm gonna start with Melt, and I'll start with the three I think that I know I won't declutter. I'm gonna keep my Bad Side Zodiac palette. This is the Earth palette. I actually really enjoy this one. I find of the mattes that I've worked with from Melt Cosmetics, this has the best quality. I also do really like the metallics in this palette, and I really enjoyed all of the looks that I've done using this eyeshadow palette. Plus, it's nice that it's a little mini palette. I am a Taurus too, and this is...
No, you're not.
Yes, I am. And this is a Taurus palette, the Earth palette. So I'm gonna keep this. I'm also keeping my Melt Smoke Sessions palette. This was like my first, not my first green palette, but like this and a couple others were like my first true love affair with greens. So I definitely want to keep this. I don't like these two mattes, and I don't reach into this palette that much. Like, admittedly, I don't use this that much, but I still love having this palette in my collection, and I'm not ready to let go of it. So this one is gonna stay. I am definitely going to, it's literally like shedding on me. The Melt Rust palette, I have decluttered and recluttered. I dropped it as I was pulling all my palettes out, and a bunch of the shades have like cracked and broken, and I just do not care about this palette enough to like put it back together. So this one is definitely gonna get decluttered. I'm not the biggest fan of the Melt matte formula, or just Melt's formula in general. I think there's definitely room for improvement, so that one's gonna go. I will, however, keep the Melt Gemini. This is something that I kind of do keep for the memories. It's not my most reached for or most used, but I also do just like having this to have in case I want to reach for it. And then I see people create looks with this palette, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so beautiful. Kind of like, it's kind of giving the kind of similar vibes to like what I have going on the eyes today. I'm gonna keep this one. I know I said I wasn't going to keep things for the packaging. I do love the packaging of this one. This is one, I don't even feel guilty about it though. Like, this is just one, like, I truly do just want to have. It makes me happy to have this in my collection, even if I'm not really reaching for it. So this one I am going to keep. I think I will ultimately keep, I haven't filmed my declutter yet, so maybe I'll change my mind. I think I'm going to keep my Melt 12th Hour Stack. Although I will say I was not like the most impressed with the quality of this. I personally think I just don't love the Melt matte formula. But I will also say I do have a Get Ready With Me where I created a look using this stack. I actually did really enjoy that look. It was one of those things that I felt like I was frustrated as I was putting the look together. But then like 30 minutes after filming and after like having the look on, I really liked it. So maybe it just needed like a minute to like settle into the eyes. I don't know. I don't think I'll end up decluttering this, but this is something that could be like, we'll see how much I use it in the next year, and maybe it would get decluttered next year, or maybe I will be feeling extra ruthless day of declutter and declutter this. I have only reached for this like 2 times, so I want to reach for it a little bit more before I make up my mind. As of this moment, I think this likely will stay. All right, then I have 2 palettes from Menagerie. So I have the Menagerie Killer Purr palette. This is one I just really don't know. I broke the mirror on this one. I probably shouldn't keep it because 7 years of bad luck. I love the shade Main in this palette. Like, I love this shade. It's one of those kind of warm pink shifty shadows. There it is swatched right there. And I love this palette for like that shade, but aside from that, I don't think I really care about anything else. I also broke one of the shades in here. I think I can let this one go. Like, I don't think I would miss this at all. So I think this one from Menagerie, I will likely end up decluttering. And then I also have the Pastel Pup, which as I sat down to film this, I was like, what am I thinking with Pastel Pup? My favorite shade, Snowball. It just keeps breaking in there, and I keep having to like press it back in. I wonder if I have, okay, I'm gonna spray it with a little bit of alcohol to see if hopefully that helps a little bit. Okay, this is one I struggle with because I rarely reach for this. Rarely. But I don't have, well, I guess I have my Natasha Denona pastel, but I do plan to declutter that. I don't have another like pastel palette, but again, I'm not reaching for pastels all that much. This is an older palette in my collection, but it would also be my only Menagerie palette. I do feel like I just feel like I have hard pan in these shadows though too. Like I genuinely feel like I never reach for this. Oh, it's so tough. But then I think like if I wanted an updated pastel palette, I could get something like the Blend Bunny Sickly Sweet. I think it might be time to let go of the Menagerie pastel palette. It's so tough because this also, I think I also bought this during like COVID lockdown time. It was one of my first indie palettes that I purchased. It was like a very, very popular palette, hard to get your hands on at the time. I think I might let go of Menagerie Pastel Pup as well. I think I'm okay letting go. I think so. All right, and then finally to wrap it up, I have two Makeup by Mario palettes. Both I have purchased this year. I have the Ethereal Eyes Nature palette, which I'm definitely going to be keeping. I was actually very surprised as to how much I really enjoyed this palette. Although I will say this is definitely more my style lately. I know I have a very heavy eye look on today, but I have been liking something a little bit more simple and just like sparkly on the lids. So this works really well for me. I am definitely going to be keeping this one from Makeup by Mario. I think I will likely end up decluttering the Master Mattes, the original. I bought this earlier this year and I was so excited to buy this because I wanted this to be my perfect warm tone matte, all matte companion palette, and I just don't think the quality in this palette is that great. Like it really annoys me. I feel like some of the shades have a ton of kick up. I get it is a more buildable formula, but some of the shades just like don't blend well together either, and I just was not at all impressed with this palette, which is such a bummer. I'd honestly rather use my like Natasha Denona I Need a Warm, which I get is not an all matte palette, but I don't need an all matte palette. I do not need an all matte palette, and I have plenty of warm toned mattes scattered throughout my collection. So after I do my year-end ranking, I do think I will pass this along, and so you will likely see this as a declutter in my eyeshadow palette declutter. All right, we had 27 eyeshadow palettes that we talked about in today's video. I'm gonna keep 17 for sure, but you will likely see 10 of them in my upcoming declutter, which makes me feel like maybe I can do it. Like maybe I actually can declutter a good chunk of my eyeshadow palette collection. I'm feeling so overwhelmed by my eyeshadow palette collection, and I get that is like my fault. I bring a lot of eyeshadow palettes into my collection, and it's sometimes really hard for me to let go, but this is the year that I want to just be okay letting things go, passing things along. I don't need to keep every single eyeshadow palette. So hopefully this will be a good kickstart for my eyeshadow palette declutter. Stay tuned for that. I would love to know in the comments below if I'm planning to get rid of anything that you yourself would keep, or if there's other things that I'm keeping that you think maybe I should be getting rid of. Let a girl know in the comments below. Other than that, thank you so much for sticking around to watch today's video and for supporting me and my channel as you guys always do. I love you guys so much, and I will catch you on my next video. Bye.